Alright, so here we go. This is a bit of a complex process, so I want to show you how I do it. I have a couple of them here that I've built, a couple that I haven't built, just to show you. Here's how it looks on the curve. I have it in 4 colors that correspond with the color of the curve. Now that's I have them all different wires, and to tell you the truth, the one I'm going to show you today is the one that I like the best. So we better get started. This is a stand that's available from Nhaler as well. I just got these in. I've actually been waiting to do this video. This just allows you to have something to hold this on. Now for this particular one, I'm going to pull the glass off for now. This is a glass tube. That's the whole device. Hoping this is focusing in pretty good. I like to back this screw off first and loosen this up. You can see all this really is just a thumb screw. This is all stainless. It's a stainless steel rod that goes completely through the device. And then this is a washer. I had a spring in there, but I changed it because I like the way this feels. It's a lot easier to just twist this with your fingers. So I have a little screwdriver set now. You can pick one of these up relatively cheap. I get the fattest one. I like to get the fattest screwdriver out of here. And I have these pliers that I've been using. Again, you can use whatever you have. I like to start it out with a clean cut. Now, some people might not want to waste that. They might want to keep it. Some people also like to anneal. Use a torch and anneal this first. Personally, this wire that I have is from Temco, and it's A1 Canthal, and it's already annealed. So, and I actually like it now because it's a little springier. And it actually, for me, what I found, and now there's a lot of people that'll tell you, no, don't do this, but what I found is that I like it to be a little springier, because if I want to change it, it gives me some rhythm to change it. So I just make a little hook, because this is going to go right under this screw. Okay, so keeping that in mind, I'm going to take that, put it right over it, and I'm going to twist this. Now, you might not want to do that. You might want to hold it, bend this over and hold it. Again, I don't know if you can see that, but listen, this is something that you're going to have to get used to. You can either put it around there and twist it. You can put it like this and twist it. For this time, for this sake, I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to do 1, and I'm going to, as tight as I possibly can, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now that's more than I'm going to use, but I'm just doing it like that. And then I'm going to loosen this up a little bit and just push that down as tight as I can get it. Like so. Okay, and again, now if you would torch this, it would just stay like that. But see, this is still a little springy, which I don't mind. Okay, so now I got a nice fat screwdriver there for that, and I'm going to show you why in a minute. So I'm going to cut this off now. Now, you could have cut it off before or whatever, but I'm going to cut this off now and get this roll of wire out of the way so nobody puts an eye out or something. So here we go. We got that twisted like that. Now I have another screwdriver that's skinnier. Okay, and I'm going to put that through this hole, and I'm going to put it right down into the wick hole on the device. And this just gives me a nice, easy, it keeps that coil nice and straight while I'm working with it. So I'm going to get my tweezers here. and grab that little end and put it under my screw. Now that's why I put that little bend on that screw, because this sort of, the bend is going towards the pull of the screw. So when I tighten this up, you'll see that that just pulls that wire right down tight underneath there for me. Well, maybe it didn't. So at any rate, you want to make sure. That's what's great about having this stand, because you can have two hands to work with. So what I'll do sometimes is I'll just press that under there, tighten it up so I get a good solid connection there. So again, this Atomizer or Genny, whatever you want to call it, this is 100% aluminum, so it's super light. It's nice and light for conductivity. And it's anodized, so you don't have any problem with the aluminum condensating or rotting or whatever. The center pin is solid stainless steel. Everything, the screw, the shaft. There's a thumb nut, a washer, and I'm trying to think of the name for this other thing. It's a hexagon coupler. And that's all 100% stainless steel. So now I have this. I'm going to put my headgear down now. Now I have this. So I'm just going to take this, have this loosened up, and take this and turn it on there. And I'm not going to cut that off. I'm not going to pull it real tight. I just want it to make contact. There. Okay, so now have that right where I want it. Now I'm going to unscrew this off of here. I'm going to grab a device. I'm going to grab my big curve here. So I got a nice fresh charged 26650 battery in there. I'm going to set this off to the side. I'm just going to put this on here and pulse this a couple times. Now, the trick here is that that coil. This is a micro coil I'm making on here. So that coil, you can see it. It's like bigger and longer than I want it right now. So you'll see. My button. I'm off my button. You can see that's going to get hot. Now, as that gets nice and hot, I'm holding the button now. I'm going to let the button go, and I'm going to grab this with tweezers and just squeeze it. Now that went a little crooked that time, but never fear, because I'm going to keep that nice and straight lined up with that hole. Now it's a little too long, so it's not heating up as evenly as it should be, but it will by the time I get done. So I'm going to let go of it before I touch it. If you touch that when you're still holding the button, it's going to probably break your wire. So there, I got that. I'm going to get a close-up on this again. Make sure that that's nice, because I want to get that nice and neat and not overlapping. I want it to be like a evenly lined up like a spring, and I don't want those to overlap, but I do want to make sure they're nice and tight. So if you heat that up and then hold it until it cools off, you see how it stays the way I want it. So I'm going to heat it up again, and I'm just going to go down the center of it again and make sure that that's nice and clear there. So what I like about these microcoils is that they heat up from the center out. Instead of you seeing hot spots up around here around the outside, the first hot spot that you'll see will be right in the center. Now the ohms on this are high. this isn't going to be a sub-ohm. I want to caution people that when you're making sub-ohm coils, you got to be really careful. You got to use the right batteries. You got to use good IMR batteries, and you want to make sure that they're rated properly for the amperage that you're using them for. So I got this set. Now, this is 28 gauge wire, and I use just for the ease of this. Now, if I tested this out right now, this is probably 1.4 or 1.5 ohms. If I used a heavier gauge wire, it would not be that way. So we're not going to take that call right now. So it's a heavier gauge wire. Wow, somebody's really trying to get through. But at any rate, if you used a heavier gauge wire, the ohms would be low. So the best way to figure it, the heavier gauge the wire, which is opposite, you would think 28 gauge is heavier. It's not. 28 gauge is lower. It's smaller. So the lower this number, the thicker the wire. So 30 is thinner than 28, and 26 is fatter than 28, right? So the lower the gauge, the lower the resistance is. So if you use 26 gauge, the resistance will be lower. So you could make like 10 wraps with 26 gauge and then squeeze it into a microcoil like this and still be maybe sub-ohm at 9 or 10 wraps, because the fatter wire gives less resistance to the flow of electricity. So now I don't have this tight. Again, before I tighten this up, I'm going to keep this down through there because I want to keep the center of that nice and centered with that hole. You're going to see why in just a second. And I want that coil in there nice so I can get right in there. I can either come up through the bottom. I can either come up through the bottom of here and go through that coil, or go down. Now this particular one, let me just make sure this is still lined up. And it is. And again, just going to pinch that a little bit and manipulate this so it's exactly how I want it. And you know, the best thing, I'll tell you this, whenever you're doing this, don't do this if you're in a hurry, because if you're anything like me, you can get very frustrated working with this. If you have something to do, don't do this, because if you're in a hurry, you start fumbling around. You really want to relax. You know, do this when you have time to mess around with it. This one here seems to be going pretty quick, but there's times where they don't always go that quick. So I'm going to relax and have a vape here. Take a short break. This is how this works. You want to tip this. I don't know how well you can see this, but that's the wick. I'm going to be putting a organic cotton wick in here. So this is one that I did with 26 gauge wire. And when you put your cap on, always with any RBA, here's the hole in the cap. You want to line this hole up right with the coil, so that the air, when it comes in there, it's going right across the coil. And then, so you know that your wick is here, whenever you're vaping this, you want it tilted towards that wick, because you want it to be wicking while you're vaping it. So here we go. So listen, if you haven't used RBAs, it's something that you want to get into slow. A lot of people are really raving about it, and the reason being is just the flavor with these. When you get them right, the flavor is incredible. Now, I've been messing around with these for a few years. I introduced the first USA made RBA, which is right here. I'm not embarrassed to show it to you. It didn't work that great, This was a dripper. It's called the Atomizer. And you could build this the same way you're building this. You will just drip with it though. And this, I never really got the air perfect. I had 2 holes, one on either side, and there were people that bought them that did drill them out and use them right, but most people that got them liked them, but I think they got tired of it. So at any rate, moving along, I went to Walmart or Walgreens and I got some Subtle Beauty organic cotton balls. And I feel pretty, I'll tell you that, because of these. But so it's just a cotton ball. It's organically grown cotton. Like, who knew, right? That you could get organic cotton. Now again, I've done these actually when I distribute these. I'm going to be putting out. You can use cable wire, which I think I have a piece of around here somewhere, maybe not, but you can use a piece of cable like this as your wick, steel cable, and then you wrap a piece of mesh around that, steel mesh, and wrap your coil around that. But to be honest with you, Dino showed me this organic cotton stuff, and that's all I've been using since. So basically, you get a piece of this. Now, some people will trim this perfectly, like so. And you know, listen, that bag I think was $2 for the whole bag, so you can use it really sparingly. You could probably save a lot by not using as much, but you know, these wicks last a long time. They're really easy to change out. So I just get that and get like a little point on there. Now, you know, it's basically threading a needle. So what you want to do is just feed that down. You'll see the hole there. And I can't really show it to you and do it at the same time. Maybe I can, but basically what you're going to do is just... Now I got to be honest with you. The other day when I did this, I put a little liquid on there, but I'm trying to keep it nice and neat this time. But you can put a little liquid on there, it makes it go through there. So here's the trick. It's thinner at this end and fatter at this end. I want it to be snug in this hole down here, but not really tight, because I made one that I made this at the bottom of the hole. It was really tight and it wasn't wicking well with the thicker liquid that I was using. So this is going to be something you might have to mess around with. But you can twist this and tighten it. I don't know if you can see how that's tightening up. Now there's more room in that hole. But if you twist it back the other way, you want it to really be touching all the way around on your coil when it does start wicking. So I'm going to keep this just like this. So as you can see, there's a nice amount of room down there. It's not really stuffed into that hole. It's not clogging the hole. Okay, so we lost video there for a second, but I'll edit that out. So I've got this in there. It's in the hole, but it's not clogging the hole. It's just, you know, wicking through the hole. So I'm going to keep that like that. I'm going to loosen this up, wind it the opposite way. You know what I'll do is just pull this down just a little tighter, just like that. So again, we got room in the hole there. I'm just going to cut that off. And you can trim this up a little bit. Pull that up, and then I'm just going to pull that down, sort of fluff that around there, like so. And put the glass back on there, just like that. Load this up with some peach. Now, you don't necessarily have to use a syringe, but I like to, because I'm going to show you why right now. Especially on the first time. After the first time, you can pretty much use, just do it with a bottle. But I like to get this syringe in here and get it in there and just sort of fluff that up around in there so that it's hitting the coil all the way around. So once that's done, I'm just going to make sure that that coil is all the way saturated. Both ends. Now this particular liquid is pretty thick. I'm pretty sure this is like 50/50 PGVG, and then this is one of my liquids. I don't put any water or any PGA in my octane flavors. I keep them really just more pure. So some people who add VG, you could have 100% VG liquid that isn't really thick because they thin it or dilute it. So just to be sure that this is well saturated, I'm going to put another drop right on that wick and put my top cap on. And again, as I put my cap on, there's the hole. I'm going to make sure that's right next to that coil. Take this off of here. Now, you don't want to just jump right on all over this. You want to let this, make sure that's saturated really well. Let's see if I can use this on my Opus. See how. Now, this could be a complete, total mess up. Now, that's one of the things that, there's a ton of places around that are going to tell you how many wraps, what gauge wire. So, yeah, this is 1.7 ohms. So I knew this was going to be high because I used 28 gauge wire and I made a lot of wraps, but I just wanted to be able to really illustrate it well and be able to show you on camera what you wanted to do. But you could use that same gauge wire and make 5 wraps or 4 wraps and just decrease the ohms by the number of wraps. So I'm running this at 1.7 ohms, 4.3 volts. I'm going to turn this up to 11.5. It's going to give me 4.5 volts. You can hear that puffing. It's going. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, the flavor that you're going to experience with this is incredible. Another thing when you're doing this, keep napkins around. Before you get set up, try and get everything you need. You probably never will if you're anything like me and you're going to have to stop and get something. But it seems like a lot. It's really not that much. Once you try this a couple times, it's really much easier than it looks. Or, it might be a little harder than it looked. With me, I've been practicing a little bit. I know in the beginning I watched guys do this on camera and it didn't work out for me the first couple times, but I took my time. I got the right stuff, the right tools, and once you're set up, I keep all this stuff in a little priority envelope. I put it all away. It looks like a mess right now, but this will clean right up. Again, keep tissues. Do it on a napkin. Don't do it on a table, especially if you're using a torch. You want to keep something underneath of it. If you're heating it up, if you need to set it down, or if you burn your finger or something, or whatever, if you want to, put this stuff down, you want to have something to protect whatever surface you're working on. Also, you want something that's not gonna, you know, burst into flames. So either, you know, a napkin or whatever. I was doing one, and I usually have a blanket that makes it nice and soft, but stuff wouldn't stand up on it, right? So you want to get all that stuff straightened out before you do it, because it's going to make it's going to make it, you know, less aggravating. So we have 4 colors. Here's all 4 of them here. These drip tips that I have on here, this is not a stock drip tip that comes with this. I forget what it is, but it's a different color than this. I think it's like a black and silver sort of drip tip that comes on that. But try it out. I think people are going to love these. I've been setting them up with ribbon wire with cables in them. I was doing them with mesh. You could do the same thing with a piece of this mesh. You take it and roll it up, heat it up. That stuff has to be annealed. You want to burn it, and then you can either slide it up through the bottom or slide it down through the top. That works really well. I'm telling you, this organic cotton, I've been getting super wicking, great flavor. No, like sometimes if you hold the button down too long or you get a dry hit with the mesh, it gets like a metally, weird kind of burnt taste. I haven't had any of that here. I did burn a piece of cotton up, but after I did that, that was the first couple times I tried it, and I didn't have that cotton wet enough. You know, like what I was showing you to do with the syringe, you get all the center. I didn't have it wet enough initially, and it singed the top of it. I pulled it right, opened it up, pulled it right out, dry burned it, hit the coil with the torch for 2 seconds. It was gone, went right away, and it was working like a dream again. So this one I have set up with 24 wire. I have one set up with 26 wire. This is the one I set up yesterday with 30 gauge. This is about 0.7 ohms. This is working fantastic. I vaped this all night last night. I mean, that's just a standard 26500, 26650 battery. All these batteries, I use IMR batteries, either Panasonic, AW, or the IMRs that I sell on my site that are MNKE or MNKE batteries. So don't run your batteries low. As soon as that starts going low, stop it and recharge your battery, because what happens is if you run the batteries too low in these units, they'll die. They'll stop working. So when you go to charge it, you'll put it on there and it'll show you a green light, but really the internal voltages run so low that it won't charge the battery. So I'm going to be updating this video as these go out. If people have questions or concerns, you can email us. There'll be a link below. Thanks for watching. Enjoy.